Hello and welcome, dear human family, to another video update here on my private channel. Just wanted to update you and give you the assurance that I'm doing good. Moving through my process of awakening, spiraling up. Only after I'm spiraling down, my breakthroughs only come when I break down, and it depends how I respond to the situation. Or it's always about if we take responsibility for what's happening in the world, and that is, as very wise men have come to the conclusion of, responsibility is the ability to respond. And I've got a really nice teaching for you today. A great teaching I come across in my favorite book at the moment. Oh no, I'm not making advertisements because I'm getting paid for it, because this is actually the deal along my journey right now. And I have heard some people have also been motivated to buy the book themselves also. And it is having a really profound healing effect on me. And that's why I want to delve right in to an amazing teaching that I like to share. And I'm going to read out of the book by Paul Levy. And this is a Buddhist teaching that's called, or that goes by the name of, the lion's gaze. I quote, "The way to responsibly," which connotes the ability to respond, the way to responsibly engage with Wetiko disease is to attend to what it triggers within us. One of the most beautiful teachings in Buddhism is called the lion's gaze. The following example is given as an illustration. If you throw a stick at a dog, the dog runs after the stick. But if you throw a stick at a lion, the lion will chase after you. The stick represents an uncomfortable negative emotion that gets triggered inside of us. When we are triggered, when something quote unquote pushes our buttons, it activates an unconscious, compulsive knee-jerk reflex. Running after the stick like a dog, indulging in and acting out the negative emotion, means that we put our attention outside of ourselves. This is to relate to what is triggering us in the outside world as quote-unquote the problem, instead of looking inward at the source of the problem. If only what was triggering us in the outside world would stop, we tell ourselves, we would feel better and the problem would be solved. But if we have the gaze of the lion, we turn our gaze within when we are triggered and treat the moment as an opportunity to self-reflect, looking at whatever it is within us that has been activated. The lion is not afraid to go to the source of the trigger, which is never outside but always within ourselves. Assuming the fearless gaze of the lion, we relate to the triggering situation as a gift, as it has helped us access a part of ourselves that up until now has been unconscious and hence hidden. And this is why the contemplation, the investigation, and the study of the craziness of this world, the insanity and the pure evil that is called Wetiko in the Native American tradition, is defined as the topic of all topics by Carlos Castaneda of the Castaneda books. And it is the most important of topics, I would suggest, because within the unveiling of the pure nature of evil and where it originates, where it truly originates, holds the key to the great and the greatest gift that is freedom. As I have often said on this channel, the world that we experience is paradoxical. The inner world reflects the outer world 100%. And this we truly see without any contradiction at the point of enlightenment. And we're most certainly, we are, as a human family, and for everyone who's listening here, we're on that journey of self-discovery, of enlightenment. This is what this all is all about. The topic of all topics. Why do most people get triggered by the word evil and just mentioning evil? Contemplating how the great masses of humanity don't want to have anything to do with evil. They don't want to know anything about evil, and they do not want to contemplate that evil is happening in the world. This is the great disillusionment and self-deception that is rampant in our human society. And this is also the underlying reason why evil is happening on a mass scale in the world. And therefore, even though this image here might also freak you out, it might push some buttons with you also, because we don't want to have anything to do with the devil, with Satan, or Satan Claus, who's also an apparent human member, playing his role in the World Economic Forum of bringing about a digital totalitarian system of total enslavement and control. However, what underlies Satan Schwab? Am I a Satanist for delving deep into the roots of evil? Or am I an agent of the indestructible force of the evolutionary force that created everything? Am I an agent of the force that moves all things? that wishes in alignment, in agreement with Mother Earth to cleanse all evil from our world. And is it possible that one of the most fundamental requirements of us as human beings is to get to the bottom of the topic of evil and actually come to a truth-based realization that the origin of evil has to be within ourselves, and we are distracted from the root of evil within ourselves by judging puppet masters of the Wetiko virus like Satan Schwab as the problem. And if only the problem of the Covidian cult technocratic regime would end, then all our problems would end. Is that possibly an incredible delusion that we live in? And is it possible that in order for the situation to change direction, to be maneuvered into the direction of complete freedom, is that we get in alignment with our own psychology, that evil, the seed of evil, is within our own being, and were we to balance our own being, the evil in the world will start to crumble and be removed in no time, as it is a house of cards. I've shown you this picture also in last week's video, and be prepared for a thorough investigation coming shortly on my new channel that I'm creating called the Living Gnosis. I wanted to give you a short video here right now, however, expect something profound in the days to come. There's something to look forward to. And what I want to point out is we've got multiple layers of this control structure. The 3D physical matrix, which still gets most of the attention of the so-called freedom community of people sincerely wanting to wake up to the nightmare that we're experiencing in the world. And it's important to engage in the 3D physical matrix level of reality with all that entails in it, the whole agenda, UN Agenda 2030 that's being rolled out, the whole technocratic system. However, there's deeper layers to this matrix. A hyperdimensional prison of the mind. A programmed reality that is running like a CD disc within our mind and creating that very fascistic, technocratic society and reality that the hidden masters of this world, who indulge in the ideology of Satanism, and those satanic orders and satanic networks follow the orders of the hyperdimensional matrix, the occult hidden forces, like the Gnostics, called the Archons, a mind parasite, and Wetiko virus being, for me, the most appropriate term to describe this force of evil, because it is a virus. It is a virus that is incredibly contagious, spreads like crazy, quickly, as a disease of the mind. And very interesting that still this is not talked about too often. However, this Wetiko mind virus is quite possible that the theme of the virus was inserted in 2020 into the dream reality that we experience, the dreamlike nature of the reality that we experience, in order for us to find out what the underlying virus is. And it goes beyond the 3D physical matrix structure of government, corporation, banks, military, and academia. It goes beyond the hyperdimensional matrix of occult hidden forces that parasite of our creative, imaginative energy of our own minds. It goes beyond that, and the control structure ends with our being. So pay as close attention as you can in your awakening process to this Wetiko mind virus CD disc that is being played out in your own mind. Quieten the volume of this chatter, and that's when you do the really hard work, the heart work. The heart anchor intelligence is then activated when this CD disc play is put on halt, and we are aware that there is a foreign installation going on in our minds that are not our original thoughts, and they pull us down. First, we need to become aware of that and make new choices according to that. Because what is freedom but the freedom to choose? And we can choose not to follow the instructions of thoughts from the Wetiko mind. And it need not be difficult to anchor heart-based intelligence. So what I did a few days ago, I started doing that because I watched a really wonderful interview by a German lady, in German also. And as I'm going through some major shifts and I'm going crazy sometimes, I lose myself. I'm like, I compulsively act out emotional responses. Happens to me after years of doing shadow work on myself. I have to be totally honest about that, and with total humility say right now that this mind virus, the spirit of pure evil, is actually that factor that makes me grow the most. That's why it is the ultimate force of teaching and learning, looked at from the higher holistic perspective of the absolute realm. This evil force that's running through our minds in this hyperdimensional mind prison is actually the biggest teacher that we can have. It's the paradox. Where do you find the light? Deep in darkness. That's where you find the light. And I had a revelation today which I'm happy to share with you, for anyone who's also going through their process. Is this all relates also to trauma, and that when we reactivate our own trauma that happened during childhood or whenever during our life, and that gets triggered again inside of us, and we experience our trauma again, we re-traumatize ourselves again. We're stuck in this feedback loop where we feel disempowered, we feel the fear creeping in, we feel the anxiety, the knee-jerk emotional reaction to something traumatic. And we realize that that is the ultimate point where we can dissolve that trauma. That's why this process happens, where, and you might know this in your life, oh, it's happened to me again, oh, not again. The feedback loop gets activated again. The trauma happens again, it's here again. Now how do you deal with it? And the reason why this happens, the reason why we re-traumatize ourselves again, is because it comes up from the unconscious, the trauma deep in the unconscious. It comes to the conscious mind through the act of triggering, and the trauma, therefore, instead of being stale and in a concrete form, in a stable form, it gets liquefied in order to reprogram the trauma, so the trauma becomes the greatest gift inside ourselves, where the wound becomes the great source of inspiration and the one single thing that pointed us into the direction of our true self. That's what it becomes. And all that happened with the trauma that is in connection with the force of pure evil is that we encountered a power that is far greater and stronger than we as an individual are. This force of pure darkness and pure evil is much more powerful than we are in that moment. Not when we're fully enlightened, because then we have our dark and light side within our yin and yang being fully integrated. It can't touch us anymore. But until then, and this is what I'm learning right now, the pure power of evil and how we encounter, through encountering pure evil, a power that's far greater than our state of being at any given moment along our awakening process. And by learning from our experience with evil, the underlying learning lesson, we move on further. So therefore, pure evil is a force of evolution. That is the uncomfortable but absolute truth of the matter. And what I wanted to share is the heart anchor intelligence. Way to anchor. If you want to, try this. It has really helped me. Whatever feels right to you. With me, it's the right hand and then the left hand. You put on your heart and you just focus that, and you say, I connect with my heart, and see what happens. That's why I say it need not be difficult. The heart anchor intelligence. Do this regularly and see what happens. This evil force eventually leads us to the only place of escape from the multidimensional matrix control system, which is our heart base station. It's the trigger choice. Going back to the story of the lion's gaze. So you throw a dog a stick and it chases after it. You throw the lion the stick and the lion chases you. It's the choice. If we want to go with the stick representing uncomfortable negative emotions and indulge in these emotions and build a story around these emotions, and through this state of victimhood and the victimization of ourselves as infinite creator beings, we become complicit with the force of pure evil. If that's the choice we take. However, at any moment where we get triggered again, at any moment where the re-traumatization feedback loop kicks in again, we have the choice to make the lion's gaze, to be that lion and take the inward journey. We become triggered and we decide to go inward. Look inside for the source of all evil and use the trigger effect as an opportunity to self-reflect. And then we make new choices. We realize the principle why evil encounters us in our world. We realize the underlying reason why this is happening again. Because the trauma happens again in order to be healed. So it's a choice. Do we chase after the stick and indulge in the uncomfortable negative emotions and form a whole narrative, a whole worldview, a whole attitude, a whole personality, and a whole reality around the impulse of this negative, so-called negative emotion of fear, doubt, anxiety, sorrow, depression, call it whatever? Are we going to chase that? Are we going to chase it again? Or do we realize that we know where this path leads? You've already been down that road before, and it is going nowhere. It only tries to entice us and lead us astray. Or do we make the choice of the lion's gaze? The choice of what it means to be a true warrior. That we have it in us. No more complaining about what's going on outside. Yeah, they're all still running around with muzzles. Yeah, I'm not where I want to be yet. But I'm getting there because I understand more. I realize, yes, this is a teaching program. The Matrix is a teaching program which is leading me outside of the Matrix. The only way out is through. There is no other way. And I'm realizing this the really hard way right now. And it's beautiful. I had a massive meltdown yesterday. Like, why do I have to go through this again? And today I make different choices. I made a different choice. I went out to the river and jumped right into the cold river. I make different choices. I make the choice to love myself. The inner child, giving healing to the inner child, the love that it needs. And the power flows from there. Who's in this with me too? Until we see each other next time, take good care. And you know how lions stare.